What's up guys, my name is Ace, and it looks like the overhaul that a lot of people were hoping for with Modern Warfare isn't actually happening. Now just to catch you guys up on this, early in November, one of the big leakers, the Gaming Revolution, tweeted that there will be a big overhaul coming to Modern Warfare, including a change to the minimap where it will be returning to how it's always been in Call of Duty. Now this is coming from somebody that had a very accurate track record when it comes to leaks. Before the game came out, he leaked pretty much everything, and most of it turned out to be completely accurate. So a lot of people took this very seriously. It did give me a little bit of hope, but at the same time, I was also very clear to mention, this is just a leak, nothing is confirmed yet. Don't get your hopes up too much. Well, just yesterday, we got a little bit of an update on this quote-unquote overhaul from Joe Secott himself. And he said on Twitter that the overhaul was a fake statement to get attention. We are constantly updating the game at least once a week, sometimes twice. Season 1 incoming. So now we know for sure that overhaul is not happening. There is no big update. That thing that has been keeping a lot of people hanging on to this game, just waiting for some big changes to be made, doesn't look like we're getting that big update. But having said that, they are going to continue working on the game, of course, and making improvements. We're just not going to see a big overhaul. As for my thoughts on this particular news, first off, I gotta say, I'm a little bit disappointed that we aren't going to be seeing a big overhaul because I was quite hopeful that something like that would be coming. But at the same time, I think this is a good wake-up call for the people that blindly trust everything that a leaker says. And also, this news did spread around the community as if it were actually coming straight from Infinity Ward. There are still a lot of people that are saying, well, why did you lie to us then and tell us there was going to be an overhaul? When nobody from Infinity Ward had ever said there would be an overhaul. So I think that is a good reminder for a lot of people that, unless it comes from an official source, always take it with a grain of salt. Now, having said this, I do also understand a lot of the frustration and confusion in the community after seeing this tweet from Joe Secott, because of the tweet from Ashton at Infinity Ward, which specifically mentioned that she was finalizing the notes for, quote, the big update that we all keep asking about. And at that time, the big update that everybody was talking about in this community was the rumored overhaul with this minimap change. So in that sense, a lot of people, when they saw this tweet, they're like, yes, this is the overhaul. This is what we've all been talking about. And it turns out that wasn't true at all. We actually just got pretty much a standard update that fixed a lot of bugs and made a few little adjustments here or there. So this was definitely confusing for a lot of people, because we're getting mixed signals here. There's a leaked overhaul, everybody's talking about it. The community manager says the big update is coming. It turns out that was just a standard update. So then there's still some people thinking, well, maybe that wasn't the big update. The big update's going to be the next update then, right? And now we get this tweet from Joe Secott that says the overhaul doesn't exist and it's not coming. At the end of the day, though, I think the big takeaway from this is why communication is so important. And I don't think Infinity Ward is doing a good enough job with their communication with the community. I made a video about this a week ago, and nothing has really changed since then. And a lot of the core audience, the people you see talking about the game on Twitter and Reddit and YouTube comment sections, they're getting really frustrated that it seems like our concerns that we just keep repeating over and over and over again are just being completely ignored. They won't even be acknowledged by the developers. And I'm seeing more and more people every single day dropping this game. I'm consistently seeing comments from completely different people on a daily basis just saying, I'm done with this game, I'm frustrated, I have never quit a Call of Duty game this early, but I just can't stick around any longer because they're not addressing our concerns. A little bit of communication on the overall direction would go a long way, and we're still just not seeing that. Now, of course, tomorrow we get Season 1, and with that, there will also be a title update, and most likely we will be seeing more bug fixes, as well as some gameplay changes. This is obviously not going to be an overhaul by any means, as we know now, but there will be some changes attached to that. And some of those changes we actually could see in the gameplays that had been posted by some of the YouTubers that flew out early last week and captured some early gameplay of Season 1. It seems like, after watching some raw gameplay, they may have made more adjustments to the footstep audio, but of course it's kind of hard to tell just from a YouTube video. And also it looks like a few quality of life things have been added, like when you get a camo, it will actually pop up on your screen in-game that you have earned that particular camo, which is something that we've kind of always had in Call of Duty, and for whatever reason we haven't had that in Modern Warfare so far, but with this update tomorrow, we should be seeing those added, which is a nice little improvement. Now, for everybody that's been asking and speculating that I wasn't invited to this event because I've been critical of the game, that's not true at all. I was invited out. It's just, it didn't fit with my travel schedule. I was basically on my way back to Norway as this event was going on, so just didn't work out this time. But who knows, maybe next time I'll be able to make it out. I would love to go there and have some conversations with the devs. But in either case, tomorrow we will be having the Season 1 update, and I'm interested to see what they end up changing gameplay-wise. Like, we've seen the content that's going to be coming, which the new Ground War map looks really cool. I'm pretty excited for that. But outside of that, like I've already mentioned in a previous video, I'm not really all that excited about any of the other content unless we see some solid gameplay changes as well. And recently I have been getting asked quite a bit about what changes I would like to see and the issues that I'm having with the game, and I haven't really mentioned it for a while, so I just wanted to do a recap of this for those people that are curious about what I want to see. And first and foremost, skill-based matchmaking. This is absolutely the main thing that has just completely killed any sort of incentive for me to want to play anything outside of Ground War. As it is right now, it seems like skill-based matchmaking is either not present in Ground War or it's not nearly as strict as it is in the standard modes like 6v6 and 10v10. And I really just have no interest at all in playing ranked play without the rank. Anytime I hop into a 6v6 game, which is very rare these days, but every now and then I think, well, maybe they changed something. So I hop in and I try it out, and it just feels like I'm playing League play in the Masters Division with public match rule sets, trying to grind for camos or trying to level up some off-meta guns. That's not why I play Call of Duty. I have no incentive to try and learn the game and get better at the game, because as you get better, you just end up playing more difficult players that use less variety and give you less room for error, which means you have to use less variety just to keep up with what's going on around you. I was actually quite surprised to see a few days ago, Red Bull wrote a great article on skill-based matchmaking in Modern Warfare and why it has no place in public matches. It just doesn't fit with Call of Duty public matches at all. And it has just completely killed the standard modes for me and for many other YouTubers and longtime Call of Duty fans. And I think a big reason it's killed it for a lot of YouTubers is gameplays on YouTube are basically meaningless at this point, because you never know if the person just reverse boosted or exploited in some way to get into those lobbies where they might as well be playing against recruit bots. And even though many of them don't reverse boost to do this, so you don't actually see like suicides on their account, what many of them will do is either have a separate reverse boosted account where they'll search for a game on that account and then they'll session join on their main account, so that way it's completely undetectable. Or the other method they'll use is after each game, they will just session join on the person that played the worst in their previous game. Since the lobby breaks up after every game, you can just look at the scoreboard, find the person that did the worst, session join on them. They're likely to end up in an easier lobby because of their poor performance last match, and you just keep going from there, and the games will just get easier and easier as you go. The skill-based matchmaking system they currently have is way too easily exploited, it swings way too quickly, and it makes tracking any sort of improvement in-game basically impossible. You never really know if you're playing well just because the game is pitying you because you haven't been playing well recently, so it decided to give you a nice easy game. On the flip side of that, when you're doing really poorly, are you doing really poorly because you've gotten worse at the game? Or are you doing really poorly because the game decided to put you in a more difficult lobby? When the game is actively manipulating all of that stuff in the background without even telling you what your skill ranking is, that just kills the enjoyment for me completely. So honestly, that is my number one biggest complaint. If I could change just one thing about the game, that's what it would be. And I'm not even saying that it needs to be completely removed from public matches. I'm totally fine with protecting new players that are just getting into the game for the first time because I want them to have a good experience. But outside of that, I really do feel it should be exactly how we've had it in basically every other Call of Duty game in the past, with the exception of Advanced Warfare. So that's the number one thing for me, but just a few other things that I personally would love to see and I think would improve the gameplay overall. First off, more footstep adjustments, which, like I said, it looks like we might be seeing that with the Season 1 updates, but that's something we're just going to have to find out. Essentially, as it is right now, it is far too easy to just sit in one spot, use your ears to pinpoint the exact location in real time of an enemy player that's moving, pre-aim where you know they're coming, and shoot them as they come through that door. I've seen some people prop this up as some sort of a skilled gameplay style and using your awareness to your advantage, but at the end of the day, you're just sitting there and listening and shooting at what you hear. It's a very basic gameplay style that doesn't require any interpretation of data or any real planning or complex decision making. You just sit, listen, shoot at what you hear. And unfortunately, in the game's current state, this is an incredibly effective tactic. And this just slows down the pace of the gameplay and discourages people from moving around the map, even if they really want to be moving around the map. Another change that I don't think is even very controversial, I think a lot of people would agree on this one. I would love to see lobbies stay together after a game. I really miss that about old Call of Duty games, where you end up having some rivalries against people you're playing against, and you can constantly just keep rematching each other over and over again, and I really enjoyed that from previous Call of Duty games. Also, sometimes you get into lobbies where the connection just feels great and everything's working out really well for you, and it feels awesome, and in the past, you would try and stick with that lobby for as long as you possibly could. In this game, you don't have that option. After the game's over, the lobby's over as well, and I find that to be very frustrating and a very confusing decision as well. So I would love to see lobbies stick together like they always have in Call of Duty. Now, aside from those changes I've mentioned, there's a bunch of other little things I could recommend and things that I'd like to see, but they're not nearly as important for the overall gameplay experience, in my opinion, as the ones that I've just mentioned. I think if they made changes to those areas that I've mentioned in this video, the gameplay would improve drastically, and this game would probably actually have me hooked, and I would be loving this game. But as it is right now, I can barely stand playing it outside of Ground War. Either way, I guess we'll find out tomorrow with Season 1 what sort of changes we can expect to see. Maybe we will see some great changes to the gameplay. I'm just going to be crossing my fingers, and I guess we'll wait and find out. But of course, I'd like to know in the comment section below. First off, what are your thoughts on the first thing that we talked about in today's video, which is the fact that there will not be an overhaul for Modern Warfare? And then I'm also curious to hear from you guys. What sort of changes would you like to see made to this game to improve the overall gameplay experience? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.